Hello, dear students. Today we will discuss the topic environment and sustainable development, Indian context. The main objectives of this topic is to highlight about the meaning and function of environment, the various environmental issues and concerns India is facing at the moment, and assess the alternative that sustainable development offers to us. Relate environmental issues to the larger context of sustainable development. Dear students, now we are going to introduce you about this topic. India has a long history and tradition of living in harmony with nature. Respect for nature is an integral part of the value system in this country. Historically, the protection of nature and wildlife was an important article of faith reflected in people's daily lives and upheld in myths, folklore, religious beliefs, art and culture. Some of the fundamental principles of ecology and interrelationships and interdependence of all life were conceptualized in the Indian ethos and reflected in ancient scriptures, the Ishavasi Upanishad, over 2000 years ago. It states this universe is the creation of the supreme power for the benefit of all its creation. Each individual life form must therefore learn to enjoy its advantages by forming a part of this system in close relation to other species. No species may interfere with the rights of others. This is an essential principle of sustainable development. In this way, India maintains a samanvay between its rich traditional heritage and modernity without negatively impacting the environment. Dear students, in the previous topic, we have talked about the environment and we quickly recap the concept of environment and its functions. The term environment refers to the natural setting in which we live, which is bestowed to us by our ancestors. It encompasses the interaction between biotic, the living components, including plants, animals, birds, and abiotic components, including land, air, water, etc., that coexist to form this natural setting. The four major functions served by the environment are supply of resources, sustenance of life, providing aesthetic value, and assimilation of wastage generated by various production and consumption activities. Now, dear students, we will focus on environmental issues in India. India has abundant natural resources in terms of rich quality of soil, hundreds of rivers and tributaries, lush green forests, plenty of mineral deposits beneath the land surface, vast stretch of the Indian Ocean, ranges of mountains, etc. The black soil of the Deccan Plateau is particularly suitable for cultivation of cotton, leading to concentration of textile industries in this region. The Indo-Gangetic plains spread from the Arabian Sea to the Bay of Bengal are one of the most fertile, intensively cultivated, and densely populated regions in the world. India's forests, though unevenly distributed, provide green cover for a majority of its population and natural cover for its wildlife. Large deposits of iron ore, coal, and natural gas are found in the country. India accounts for nearly 8% of the world's total iron ore reserves. Bauxite, copper, chromate, diamonds, gold, lead, manganese, zinc, uranium are also available in different parts of the country. However, the developmental activities in India have resulted in pressure on its finite natural resources, besides creating impacts on human health and well-being. Some of the severe environmental issues prevalent in India are degrading air quality index, extensive environmental degradation, loss of biodiversity, urbanization in the Himalayas, loss of resilience in ecosystems, lack of waste management, depletion of resources, land, air, water, growing water scarcity. Now, we will focus on the concept of sustainable development. Sustainable development is the development that meets the needs of the present generation without compromising with the needs of future generations, put forward by the Brundtland Commission in its report, Our Common Future, in 1987. It calls for a determined effort to build an inclusive, sustainable and resilient ecosystem for the people and the planet. The main features of sustainable development include increase in per capita income, judicious use of natural resources, preserving the resources for future generations. Dear students, what are the Sustainable Development Goals? The United Nations, as a confirmatory action towards tackling the global environmental crisis that involves global warming, climate change, and ozone layer depletion, the United Nations adopted 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and 169 targets as part of the United Nations 2030 agenda. Now we are discussing these 17 goals. Goal first, end poverty in all its forms, everywhere. Number 2, end hunger, achieve food security and improved nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. Number 3, ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. Number 4, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Number 5, to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. Number 6, ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. Number 7, ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. Number 8, to promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. Number 9, build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. Number 10, reduce inequality within and among countries. Number 11, make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Number 12, ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. Number 13, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. Number 14, conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. Number 15, protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems. Sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, halt and reverse land degradation, and halt biodiversity loss. Number 16, promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. Number 17, strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. In this context, the various measures were also taken by India to implement Sustainable Development Goals, NITI Aayog, National Institution for Transforming India. It is the newly formed commission that replaced the 65-year-old Planning Commission in India, is entrusted with the task of coordinating SDGs in India. States are also advised to undertake similar mapping, including visioning, planning, budgeting, and developing implementation and monitoring systems for the state-sponsored schemes that are being implemented to fulfill the SDGs. In addition to that, the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation is engaged in the process of building key indicators to monitor the implementation of SDGs. Since 2015, when the United Nations, along with other countries, adopted the SDGs, the Indian government has launched several flagship programs that are the heart of SDGs. Some of these include Swachh Bharat Mission, Skill India, Make in India, Digital India. However, there are some severe challenges in attaining SDGs for India. The four major challenges for attaining SDGs in India are as defining the key indicators. It's one of the major challenges for India is to devise suitable indicators to effectively assess the progress of SDGs. The key definitions for areas such as poverty, hunger, safe drinking water, education need to be revised in order to effectively implement the SDGs. Financing sustainable development goals. Despite India's best efforts and making poverty alleviation a priority since the fourth 5-year plan, India has the highest number of people living below the poverty line, monitoring and ownership of implementation process. Although Niti Aayog is expected to play an important role in taking ownership of the implementation process, the members of the Aayog have expressed their concerns time and again about the limited manpower measuring the process. The Government of India has admitted the non-availability of data, especially from the sub-national areas. Incomplete coverage of administrative data is yet another factor that has hampered the measurement of progress for even the Millennial Development Goals, MDGs, that were the precursor to SDGs. Dear students, there are many more such key sectoral issues that need to be addressed to maintain a sustainable environment so as to ensure consistent economic development. Number 1, land. Land is the main source of livelihood for about 50% of India's population. The farmer class dominates India and land disputes are a frequent source of friction at various levels. Laws, especially those relating to land and taxation, are ancient and must be amended from time to time to adapt them to the prevailing situation in the country. In addition, rapid urbanization and the desire to grab more and more land for posterity are of great concern and need to be addressed in time through corrective measures. The Indian government has already taken steps to abolish outdated laws that no longer have meaning in today's context. Land reforms are necessary to solve the fundamental problem of access to land for crops and livestock. Number 2, urbanization. Cities have been the backbone of India's economy for centuries. Today, cities generate nearly 65% of the country's GDP and 90% of its tax revenues. And India is among the best economies in the world in terms of ease of doing business. In terms of sheer numbers, India is undergoing the largest urban transformation of the 21st century. The key flagship urban development programs such as Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Swachh Bharat, Atal Mission for rejuvenation and urban transformation, Heritage City Development and Augmentation Yojana are a proof to the government's commitment to sustainable urban development. With 70% of India's built environment yet to take shape by 2030, the imminent urban transformation also offers significant opportunities for domestic and foreign investment. Dear students, to achieve sustainable growth, cities must become more accommodating and safe with clean air, educate infrastructure, reliable utilities, and opportunities for learning and job creation. Air pollution, population growth, urban development, industrial development, and man-made activities have resulted in the release of pollutants into the atmosphere, causing environmental damage. Nitrogen, carbon monoxide, ammonia, ozone, heavy metals, and volatile organic matter are the major air pollutants for which the Central Pollution Control Board has notified ambient air quality standards. Under the National Air Quality Monitoring Program, the CPCB has established an air quality network of 804 monitoring sites covering 344 cities in almost all states and union territories of the country. In contrast, about 150 real-time monitoring stations have been established in 78 cities. The CPCB developed the Air Quality Index as a tool to help people understand the state of air quality in an easy-to-understand way. Air quality bulletins are also published daily. Water pollution. The country's water resources are decimating due to increasing water demand in agriculture, population growth, industrialization, and rapid urbanization. The water quality of rivers and lakes is deteriorating due to the degradation of water flow, which is worsened by the discharge of pollutants from domestic sewage, industrial effluents, and agricultural wastage. The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, MOEFCC, supports the efforts of state governments in addressing pollution of rivers under the National River Conservation Plan and conservation and management of lakes and wetlands under a separate scheme for conservation of aquatic ecosystems on cost-sharing between the central and state governments. Ensuring India's water supply and access to safe and adequate drinking water for all Indians is a government priority. An important step in this direction is the establishment of the Jal Shakti Mantralaya Ministry, which combines the Ministry of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rehabilitation, and the Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation. The Jal Shakti Ministry addresses water resources, management, and water supply in an integrated and holistic manner, working with the states to ensure Har Ghar Jal, piped water, supplied to all rural households by 2024 under the Jal Jeevan Mission. Number 6, waste management. India is experiencing rapid urbanization while being a country of physical, climatic, geographic, environmental, social, cultural, and linguistic diversity. India generates about 62 million tons of waste annually, including 5.6 million tons of plastic waste, 0.17 million tons of biomedical waste, 7.90 million tons of hazardous waste, and 15 tons of e-waste per year. Per capita waste generation in Indian cities ranges from 200 to 600 grams per day, of which 43 million tons are collected annually and 11.9 million are treated. However, after the enforcement of the Solid Waste Management Rules 2016, it directs waste generators to separate waste at source and hand over segregated waste to approved waste pickers or waste collectors. Most important are the regulations for the disposal of e-waste. They are based on the idea of the reduction of hazardous substances. Producers are also required to fund e-waste scientific management systems and to label each product with a unique identifier so that it can be tracked in the e-waste management system. Now, we are going to talk about the major governmental initiatives to tackle environmental degradation. While the cooperation of every citizen of the country is essential for safeguarding the environment, governments have a huge role to play in helping find solutions to the problems. Sustainable development strategies. Use of non-conventional energy sources. As you all are aware, India relies heavily on thermal and hydropower plants to cover its energy needs. Both of them have negative environmental consequences. Thermal power facilities release enormous amounts of carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas. It also produces fly ash, which, if not used appropriately, can pollute water bodies, land, and other environmental components. Hydroelectric projects submerge forests and disrupt natural water flow in catchment areas and river basins. Wind energy and sun rays are two types of conventional energy to be exploited as well. Wind power. In areas where speed of wind is usually high, windmills can provide electricity without any adverse impact on the environment. Solar power through photovoltaic cells. India is naturally endowed with a large quantity of solar energy in the form of sunlight. With the help of photovoltaic cells, solar energy can be converted into electricity. This technology is extremely useful for remote areas and for places where supply of power through grid or power lines is either not possible or proves very costly. This technique is also totally free from pollution. Mini hydel plants. In mountainous regions, streams can be found almost everywhere. A large percentage of such streams are perennial. Mini hydel plants use the energy of such streams to move small turbines. The turbines generate electricity that can be used locally. Such power plants are more or less environment friendly, as they do not change the land use pattern in areas where they are located. They generate enough power to meet local demands. And now we are going to discuss the traditional knowledge and practices. Traditional Indian people have been close to their environment. They have been more a component of the environment and not its controller. If we look back at our agricultural system, healthcare system, housing, transport, we find that all practices have been environment friendly. Only recently have we drifted away from the traditional systems and caused large-scale damage to the environment and also our rural heritage. Now it's time to go back. One apt example is in healthcare. India is very much privileged to have about 15,000 species of plants that have medicinal properties. About 8,000 of these are in regular use in various systems of treatment, including the folk tradition. With the sudden onslaught of the Western system of treatment, we ignored our traditional systems such as Ayurveda, Unani, Tibetan, and folk systems. These healthcare systems are in great demand again for treating chronic health problems. Nowadays, every cosmetic produces hair oil, toothpaste, body lotion, face cream, and whatnot is herbal in composition. Now we are going to discuss about biocomposting. In our journey to increase agricultural production during the last 5 decades or so, we almost totally neglected the use of compost and completely switched over to chemical fertilizers. The result is that large tracts of productive land have been adversely affected. Water bodies, including groundwater system, have suffered due to chemical contamination, and demand for irrigation has been going up year after year. Earthworms can convert organic matter into compost faster than the normal composting process. This process is now being widely used. Now we will talk about biopest control. With the advent of Green Revolution, the entire country entered into a frenzy to use more and more chemical pesticides for higher yield. Soon the adverse impacts began to show. Food products were contaminated, soil water bodies, and even groundwater were polluted with pesticides. to meet the challenge, efforts are on to bring in better methods of pest control. One such step is the use of pesticides based on plant products. So dear students, we will conclude today's topic with this note that sustainable development has become a catchphrase today. It's indeed an archetype shift in development thinking. Though it has been interpreted in a number of ways, adherence to this path ensures lasting development and non-declining welfare for all. Thank you, dear students. This is all for today.